What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Brinson. I'm your host. This is not an actual podcast. This is the live NFL trade deadline special on YouTube. Joining me to talk about all the trades that won't happen, Ryan Wilson, John Breech. What's up, fellas? We got 30 minutes until the NFL, 29 minutes now until the NFL trade deadline, 4 p.m. Eastern. Look, I'd love to tell you there'll be wild stuff happening right now, but yeah.
Well, Josina Anderson and Adam Schefter both reported that Deshaun ain't going nowhere. So
correct.
That was the biggest headline for a number of reasons, of course, on the field and off. So that isn't happening. The second biggest headline, of course, is that the Steelers moved on from Melvin Ingram.
Yes. Breech, what's up, buddy?
Guys, didn't make any trades. We could have a podcast, an opposite of the trade deadline, where we just talk about teams that didn't make a trade.
The most exciting potential news really is Phillip Rivers to the Saints, which is
although you mentioned Deshaun Jackson, I think NFL.com reported that the Rams are going to cut him if he doesn't get traded.
I mentioned Deshaun Watson, but you're right about Deshaun Jackson. You must have been watching HQ when I talked about Deshaun Jackson would be a great fit for the Browns. Also, I predicted
the Raiders.
Well, yeah, but I did this the night before. I was talking to producer Noah. I also told producer Noah the night before, 24 hours ago, it'd be a great fit, Melvin Ingram in the Chiefs, and that actually sort of happened. I fell into that one. But yeah, Deshaun, that's interesting. So maybe no teams want him. He's north of 30. He's not, he malcontent maybe is too strong a word, but he wanted out of Los Angeles.
I think malcontent is a perfect word.
Okay.
Because he's never won a Super Bowl, right? He's on the tail end of his career. If he can't make it work and be happy in a locker room with a team that throws the ball all over the field, where's he going to work out? What's going to be better for him? Is there a team that has a better offense for a 34-year-old aging
and it's
receiver
not like
than the Rams?
It's not like he's in the final year of his rookie deal where he's trying to make himself some money. He's just, if you want a ring, this is it. So what you're saying is
exactly. So if you want the ring and you're not just playing for your own stats to gloss up your resume, why wouldn't you just stay there and try and get the ring?
Right. Well, playing for your own stats doesn't make you a malcontent. It just makes you selfish.
Well, that's something a malcontent would say. Try to split hairs on what the word
exactly.
I guess that's something a selfish malcontent would say, isn't it?
So I'll take him back.
I think what Breech is saying is that the highlight of Deshaun Jackson's career is when he dropped the ball the 1 yard line and he thought he scored that touchdown for the Eagles. So that's rookie season, Devo?
Rookie season or second year.
God, that feels like it was yesterday.
The miracle at the Middlelands was year 2.
Yeah, the punt return. He also had the game-winning walk-off punt return.
He didn't drop that though, right?
He did not drop that.
Oh, good.
But he ran along, the goal line to extend it.
I love it.
That's what you do in Madden to run now for like 12 extra seconds.
That's by the way, Brinson, you mentioned Phillip Rivers and the Saints, and I know Sam Farmer tweeted about it because you retweeted it. I didn't know what Sam Farmer said because he still has me blocked, so I had to look up exactly what the message was.
Sam Farmer said that. Why is Fantasy Football Today commenting in our YouTube channel? What are you guys doing?
I hope that's Jamie.
What's more likely, Brinson makes a fantasy trade or a fantasy trade in the next 30 minutes, or a fantasy trade in general?
You don't seem like you would be active in the fantasy market, or you're too distracted, or are you?
Depends on the team. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to. It's hard. Yeah, I'm active. I think I'm active.
Okay, I'm inactive when I have to play fantasy, but
yeah.
Well, since there's no trades being made, I bet you guys would like to know I lost my fantasy game by a half point this past weekend.
All season qualifies. By the way, the Fantasy Football Today League should point out, right? I mean, do I qualify as an expert in fantasy football?
Not in picks. What's your fantasy football record?
Right.
No, you're the guy they invite in so they can win your money for free. Like they know you're not winning.
Oh, sorry. Is that a dunk?
Well, what's your record? Then we'll see.
8-0, son. Undefeated in the expert league right now.
There you go.
How are you not bragging about this every week? Like, why are you keeping this a secret?
Every week you go 2-14, and then you're not talking about your fantasy record.
Dunking on Jamie and Adam and James every week on Twitter.
Hazers 4-4, Heath 4-4, RJ White 4-4, Towers 3-5, Dave Richard 3-5, Schrager 2-6, Prisco 1-7.
Yikes.
Your boy Brinson 8-0, baby.
So Prisco is the Brinson of fantasy football. Brinson is the Wilson of fantasy football.
Azer is the only guy within 100 points of me in terms of scoring. Oh, I gotta look at this team.
My God, not Benson again is a comment from Pistol Clear.
Oh, I've got it's like, oh man, Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams on this team. Yeah, that's why. Najee Harris too.
Wait, is it a PPR?
Yeah.
And you have Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams
and Deebo Samuel.
The fantasy guys let you get all three of them?
I don't know.
Well, like you said, Breech, they thought he was going to be a pushover.
Let's see. First round.
Can we reverse Brinson's fantasy football record with his ATS picks?
No.
That's a great.
I got Cooper Kupp in the 4th round of this league.
Yeah, so this isn't a real league, is what you're saying.
I mean, it's a real league with experts, and I'm dominating it.
Okay. Well, you needed it. Way to go.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'll make a trade. I got a trade open out, and I can't get the Pete Prisco. I offered him a trade for Alvin Kamara, and he just won't deal with it. So
we're talking about Brinson's trades and our trade special because there's no real trades.
What is of the trades that have happened? Not even the Von Miller trade, of the 2 trades that have happened today. What's most beneficial for the team? Melvin Ingram going to the Chiefs or Charles Omenihu going to the 49ers? Crickets.
Melvin Ingram, I guess. I mean, I don't really understand why the Steelers are willing to trade him to the. I guess he just wanted out because he wouldn't get enough.
Oh yeah,
run.
he wasn't playing. He didn't want to. It was sort of the what's the running back's name? He's played for the Patriots and the Eagles, and he was sour on Le'Veon Bell. LeGarrette Blount. He's sort of the LeGarrette Blount situation. LeGarrette Blount showed up, and not that Melvin's a bad influence, but LeGarrette was definitely a bad influence on Le'Veon, and they moved on from him because he wasn't playing as much as he wanted to. I would imagine Melvin Ingram understood that he was going to be a situational pass rusher.
Oh, we have a new trade before the deadline.
Oh, what is it?
You guys ready? This is from Tom Pelissero. The Jets.
Oh, yeah.
Are sending tight end Dan Brown to the Chiefs for our boy, not friend of the podcast, but our boy, Dr. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, a.k.a. Offensive guard. And now the Jets are beefing up their offensive line.
They are trading him because he's a medical doctor and they want to speed up Zach Wilson's recovery.
I mean, it's believable.
Sure, anything's believable with the Jets.
I wonder why they're trading Duvernay-Tardif since that offensive line has not been wonderful. I haven't watched the offensive line closely. I would imagine he's not been playing a lot.
No.
And Debo just dropped this into our little messaging system.
I was going to say, I cannot get.
Let me finish
on my
before
laptop. What is happening?
Oh, I see. Barring something unexpected, according to Rap Sheet, Marlon Mack will stay in Indianapolis, which I'm sure Marlon Mack is not happy about. We know Jonathan Taylor is the main man there. Nyheim Hines is the change-up guy, and Marlon Mack is sort of the odd man out, so that's too bad.
I'm going to spend the entire evening trying to find out how to turn on.
It's surprising.
Just look at
it. Like if I'm on the internet, like I don't get alerts for. I'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. Anyway.
We have another podcast chiming in, Brinson.
Oh.
Well,
hey, look at that. The Cover 3 podcast joined us.
I hope that's Chip.
And so does NC State.
I'm glad Chip or is that Tom?
It could be Tom. It wouldn't be Chip. Chip wouldn't throw shade at NC State.
Chip doesn't. He's not.
You know what it could be is just someone has the keys to all the social media platforms. Oh, get out. What's happening here?
I hope. Oh, that's awesome.
We're being assaulted by various YouTube accounts of CBS podcasts. Debo has access to all of them because Debo runs the podcast and he's having a little fun.
This is not me. This is not me.
Debo does not tell lies either.
I am too focused on Fletcher Cox's future to be worried about logging into different accounts right now.
Debo texts the social media team. He's like, guys, we're going live. I want everybody commenting.
Breach, but think
make
about
fun
it.
of Brinson.
Like, do you think that Debo has to tell other folks to badmouth Benson?
No. Definitely not. He just said what time we were going so they would know what time to do it.
So Debo mentioned Fletcher Cox possibly moving teams. We'll see if that happens. What about Breach? I'll ask you because you're into like gossip and whatnot. What about the idea that Odell Beckham's dad liked on Instagram or put on Instagram the video of all the pass patterns in which Odell Beckham was open this season and didn't get the ball?
Well, first of all, it's hilarious. Second of all, I mean, Odell needs to be on his phone with his dad to be like, yo, Dad, you can't do that. Because
but what if he wants out? That's the way to do it.
If you want out and you don't get out, now you've created this giant rift between you and your quarterback and everyone in the locker room. So, like, if he actually gets traded, then, yeah, it looks brilliant and it worked. But if he's still on the team at 4:01 p.m., What is that? Baker and Odell going to give each other the cold shoulder every time they see each other in the locker room, although I'm sure Odell's already giving it to him because of all the passes that Baker's overthrown this offseason. But, I mean, it literally looks like Odell put the full court press on. He texted all his buddies this morning, hey, LeBron, why don't you tweet something about me getting out of Cleveland? Boom, LeBron does it. Hey, Dad, why don't you post this video of Baker misfiring on like 25 different throws to me this offseason? And the fact that Odell's dad is saying that Baker did it on purpose, I mean, the whole thing is absurd.
Let me ask you this: if Benson can pay attention, he can answer too. Is I did the horns wrong.
Horns down, baby.
I did the aloha. I didn't do the horns.
What does it say about Odell though that he's just so bad right now that no one wants him?
Well, I was going to ask you, say it's a 6th round pick, and then you salary aside, if you're the Patriots, would you take him for a 6th round pick?
Yes.
Yeah.
6th round pick.
Yeah.
But that might be the problem. They can't get, if somebody calls and offers a 4th round pick.
But it's a lot of money, Ty. He has a crazy contract.
So the Browns are 4-4, right? If they traded Odell Beckham for nothing, I mean their wide receiver group would be Jarvis Landry, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashad Higgins, and Anthony Schwartz. Like they can't trade.
Donovan Peoples-Jones has been pretty good when he's healthy. He didn't play last game. Odell Beckham has been slightly better than nothing, but he's not Odell Beckham.
He's been terrible.
Well, here's the thing, though. If you're trading for him, if you're the other team, he has no dead cap after this year. So, like, you can keep him for 2 more years, or you can be like, bye, Odell, we're done with you because you're too much trauma after 2021. I mean, the Browns can do the same thing, too. The Browns only have to hold him through this season, and they can get rid of him without issue. But if you're planning to get rid of him, why not trade him so you can get some compensation in return? So
I'm in this YouTube chat. I'm watching this. There's some Slack channel with podcast producers that has sent every single one to come and like thrash me.
The golf podcast out of nowhere from
the first cut with the last cut.
Morning combat.
Combat.
Oh, that's easy. Wilson would dominate Benson.
Are there weapons involved? That's what I need to know.
Yeah,
or is this like a UFC fight?
Breech.
That's Pat P. I could cover Benson with 0 handies.
Nice. That's nonsense. No. That wasn't Pat P. That was B-Max. That was B-Max.
You never heard of Brinson. You can tell this isn't all out of salt because it's supposed to be Benson. Hey, if you're watching hit the like button. Hit the like button. Comment if you think I suck. This is just a personal assault for me on YouTube now.
Yeah, you brought on yourself.
Yeah, probably. Look, Odell Beckham, you can't get what you want for Odell Beckham. You can't trade him because you need his depth on the roster.
No, you don't. He's not doing anything, and he's not a cancer, but he's he's a malcontent. He's more of a malcontent than Deshaun Jackson.
I'll give Odell Beckham credit. Given how badly this has gone, he has not thrown the hissy fit that I would have expected from him.
Did you see the video his dad put on Instagram?
That's his dad did it for him.
The way that he behaved in New York.
Brinson, if your dad posted on Instagram and threw CBS Sports under the bus and said Wilson was a buffoon, I think he would take that personally, and the company would take that personally. That's what's happened here. Like, there's no way around it. Even if he didn't directly say, Dad, do this, it is a red flag that his dad did that.
This is worse than you defending the Chiefs as being a team that's going to win their next 3 games with an 85% probability.
I mean, like, you're talking about like people on social media randomly assaulting somebody for nothing. It's like, isn't that what's happening in this very YouTube chat right now?
It's not random. It's targeted.
It is targeted harassment.
Let me ask you this:
people at my workplace.
If you're the Patriots, let's see what some other teams are. The Saints, the Patriots are the Saints, and you can even throw the Steelers in there if you want to because Juju Smith-Schuster's hurt. Would you rather have Odell Beckham for a 6th round pick or Allen Robinson for a 2nd round pick?
Odell Beckham.
Breech.
Allen Robinson's better, but a 2nd round pick's a lot.
I went to the Rams School of Trades. I'm going to take the player I think is better, and I don't care if I have to give up a higher draft pick.
I think that's right. Like Odell Beckham, you're not getting 6th round pick value in return, but based on what we've seen. Part of that is maybe above the neck. I think part of that, maybe more importantly, is the knee is still not where he wants to be, or maybe he mentally doesn't trust it like he did before the knee injury.
Well, I also think there's got to be something as it relates to the connection between Baker and Odell just not working. I mean, Baker has missed him a bunch on some.
But if you think that he can't work with Baker, how's he going to work with Mac Jones or God help us Ben Roethlisberger or God help us even more Trevor Siemian / Taysom Hill?
I don't think they
ship him to Kansas City.
Right. Yeah. If you can't get along with Patrick Mahomes, you're just not fit to be a football player.
I mean, that's what you have to do. You'd have to trade him. The only team that you feel comfortable trading for him is somebody who has a quarterback you can't really yell at. The Buccaneers don't need him
anymore.
Well, there's a very small list of quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady. Those are guys that aren't
Phillip Rivers.
Phillip Rivers, maybe. But those are guys that Odell isn't going to throw under. Odell's dad's not going to bash Tom Brady on Instagram.
Breaking news.
What we got?
The Eagles are not trading Fletcher Cox.
Ooh. Let's go.
Debo's back.
Congratulations, Debo.
Debo is back.
Look, this is sort of my point when I wrote this in my column for Monday, but it's like it's really hard for the NFL trade deadline to operate because when you look at the standings, right? How many teams there are 3 teams in the AFC. There are 4 teams in the AFC: the Jets, Jacksonville, Houston, and Miami, and 3 teams in the NFC: Washington, the Giants, and Detroit, who realistically have to know that they are sellers at the deadline.
But even that person, because I know what your point is probably going to be, you can probably take the Washington and Giants off the list because they're only 1.5 games out of the 7th seed. So, like in their heart of hearts, they're saying we're still alive. We don't want to sell too much because we could go on a run-up winning streak.
Correct, and you have to remember, like, if you're Dave Gettleman, are you really just dumping a bunch of veterans and trying to get draft picks back? You're not using the draft picks.
They locked him out of the building. He ain't doing anything.
No, my point is that it takes a very rare situation for a team with a losing record that is within striking distance of the playoffs on November 2nd to completely, like, the Broncos are the rarity here, right? They traded Von Miller, an elite pass rusher, a franchise icon, knowing he was leaving, but they did it because they have a first-year GM in George Payton who has the job security, knowing that he will be making those picks next year, barring something really, really unforeseen happening.
Did George Payton go to Von Miller's Halloween party, you think?
Probably not.
Friend of the pod, Adam Beasley.
Yeah, shout out to Bees.
What that Miller forced his way out because he wanted everyone to pay for his $10 million Halloween party.
Our pal Lucas Pawlowski asks, should the trade deadline be later in the season? Probably, yeah. Like a month from now, we will know a lot more possible.
You know, they should do it the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Why Tuesday?
Because it's always on a Tuesday.
Oh.
So the games are on Thursday.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
or later, or the first Tuesday of December.
If you moved it back 3 weeks, you would get a lot more.
Maybe. I would imagine part of the conversation, and I don't subscribe to this, but probably, there's a much clearer picture who's good and who's bad, and maybe teams start to dump bad players onto good teams. I don't care. That's what makes it interesting.
Right. I'm just saying that right now they're just, like Miami was talking about trading for Deshaun Watson right now. They're 1-7. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, but it sounds like it might have happened had there been more time to you or Breeches and Lucas.
There you go. Fletcher Cox on Instagram writes, forever Philly.
Until he gets traded next year.
Right.
To the Bengals to play quarterback.
Debo doesn't have to give up on the Eagles season because had they traded him, that would be them giving up on the season.
That's what I speculated, but
I'm glad Debo doesn't have to give up on the season. It'd be disappointing.
Debo's not giving up on the season. They could have 22 players on that roster. Debo's not giving up on the season.
They could trade the Eagles roster away for the Lions roster, and Debo still would not give up on the season. Philadelphia Lions.
They'd have a better coach.
I'm not so sure anymore.
Oh boy.
He's off the Dan Campbell bandwagon.
He's back. He's back on the
Dan wagon.
The Dan wagon. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, really, like, again, realistically, you could say that the only team that is definitely out of the playoff race in the NFC is the Lions. And even the Lions have to at least, think,
will you stop it with this NFC business? 6 teams have been decided. You're playing for one spot in the NFC.
Right, but there are
15. There's 8 teams playing for that one spot. That's the whole point.
I told you.
There's 9 teams playing for that one spot.
I love it. Ryan Wilson, who last year said that Andy Dalton was going to rip off a bunch of wins. And
there's a path.
There's a path to 9 wins. Like, you're telling us that this is over.
My favorite clip of all time.
It is.
There's no way you can realistically predict who that 7th seed will be.
Yes, I can. I will tell you right now. Mark it down. Lucas, you can make a video about this when it blows up in my face in two weeks, not even 8 weeks. It's going to be the Vikings, It's going to be Seattle, and it's going to be San Francisco. Those are going to be the teams. One of those teams will get the seventh spot.
So you think a third of the teams?
Wait, you
No.
said Seattle, San Francisco, and who?
San Fran, and I was throwing a bone to Brinson. If you don't, I don't have to include San Francisco into that group. But that's it. No one else is going to make it.
All right, pick one so I can save and clip this.
Yeah, give us a hot take on one team that you're picking for the 7th seed.
I can guarantee you on November 2nd at 3:51 p.m. that the Seahawks will be the 7th seed in the NFC. And if you think it's anyone else, you're crazy.
Thank you. There's a path.
By the way, I went over the top there at the end, so hopefully it indicates that I'm being facetious, but I'm sure Debo cut that part out, so it looks like I'm just being a dummy.
Absolutely.
That'll make it into like the Vikings playoff hype video.
Ryan Wilson said the Seattle Seahawks would make and get that final playoff
Some
spot. He
people
said it on
didn't-
November 2nd. And you
Some
know what?
people didn't believe we'd make it here.
Fire Ryan Wilson. Fired up TikTok. Bring it on.
Hashtag fire Ryan Wilson.
All right, so you two numbnuts, give me two teams. I have to do this every freaking podcast. What are your
49ers.
two teams? Okay, that's one team. That's fine. Who's your 7th seed? Who's winning the 7th seed, Wilbur?
I think the 49ers.
Oh, he's stealing my team. Classic
Yeah,
Brinson.
he just said the 49ers.
Nice
Breech.
try, Breech. No,
Classic.
no. Breech doesn't get to steal my team again and again.
I just named them.
I will take the 49. You're fine. You know what? F you. I'll take the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's go, baby.
Are you just sucking up the
Trying to
ego?
get Steven off my back, man. I gotta,
Okay.
this guy's,
Call off the dogs.
please get these guys out of the YouTube chat, man.
So no one thinks the Vikings are a legit 7th seed. Oh my god!
I think. Oh, come on.
mind his own
happening
business.
here.
Like,
Hey,
push-
if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button. Tell us in the comments who you think will make who will be the 7th seed. If we get to X number of likes over the course of this podcast, we're going to do a live trade deadline. We're going to the recap will actually start in about 8 minutes once the deadline ends. If we get there, we will give away something. I don't know what.
T-shirt, glass. We'll see. So no one thought the Vikings would be the 7th seed, even though they currently sit at the number 8 spot. Is that correct?
That is, I mean, did you watch their game against Cowboys? They lost to Cooper Rush.
Yeah, I mean, I'm picking the 12th team. Breech, you're picking the 9th team, and lo and behold, Brinson has the 11th team.
I'm surprised Brinson didn't take the Panthers, to be honest.
I want the 49ers. The 49ers are making the playoffs. It's the 49ers is my answer.
49ers are a lock. They're in.
It's gonna be hilarious when
As of here at 3:53 Eastern time on November 2nd, the San Francisco 49ers are going to go and clinch that final playoff spot. And I don't care if they're the 9th seed right now. They'll be in the 7th spot, maybe even the 6th spot by the time the season ends.
All right, let's do this for each and every team, so maybe we'll get one right.
And then we can just clip it and say we predicted it.
That's right.
I keep seeing Noah Fant's name bandied about in the chat. I think it's pretty unlikely that Noah Fant would get traded.
Oh, interesting. I think, yeah. I mean, they have Albert Abuikunum,
Wow, Albert O. They usually just call him Albert O on the red zone in the.
but I think Fant's not obviously, but I think the more athletic and higher upside, whatever you want to say, guy.
I mean, I guess Fant's he's in his 3rd year, so he's got his 4th year. After this season, they'll have to decide on the 5th year option. I would think that they would. He was a 1st round pick, right? Yeah.
20th
overall. You can get. I mean, his 5th year option is not going to be that expensive. I think he'll be on the Broncos for another 2 years. Maybe they trade him in the 5th year option year if he doesn't work out. But I look at Noah Fant as a building block.
Right. He's not Evan Ingram in the final year of his deal that you're like, okay, this guy clearly isn't going to work out. He's a guy that you still have a lot of. I mean, there's no point to that.
I mean, if you could get a 1st round pick for Noah Fant, that would be a whole different ballgame. But
that ain't happening.
that didn't happen. Right. Exactly. And again, I mean, this is a guy who, he's 24 years old. Been very productive. Tight ends don't grow on trees.
Except the tight
Neither
end
does
tree.
money. Because nothing really, only fruit and stuff grows on trees.
Leaves, bark, xylem phloem. Crushing it.
Xavier Howard been talked about. No, we have not talked about Xavier Howard. The Dolphins, I think the Dolphins only sort of move or anything they've been talking about doing is trading for Deshaun Watson, right?
Yeah, we should call them the Miami Possums because they played dead during the trade deadline. They faked everyone out. They weren't going to do anything.
They probably need to do some things, but for whatever reason they chose not to. I think we understand why with Deshaun Watson. And I guess if you don't know why, the conversation was that I think it was a PFT report, and Josina may have talked about this on HQ, and maybe Adam Schefter talked about it on ESPN or whatever. But There were some reports that Stephen Ross wanted to talk to Deshaun Watson face to face, and there wasn't time enough to do that. I know that Florio reported that once the Texans figured out that the Dolphins were interested, they jacked up the price. So, and that maybe perhaps caused the Dolphins to back off a little bit. So who knows? I don't know. I mean, I would imagine you're frustrated if you're Deshaun Watson for football reasons, but you have the rest of the year off. So we'll revisit this starting in January, I imagine.
I think the opposite team in that deal is the interesting one. I was surprised the Texans didn't do more and trade more players away. It feels like they just had everybody out there on the trading block, including Deshaun Watson, and then didn't pull the trigger on anything.
No,
Yeah.
I agree.
Seemed mildly surprising.
Yeah, if I were the Texans, I would be looking to dump as many guys as possible for as many picks as possible, so that way I could, load up on draft picks heading into the. Yeah, I mean, it seems very odd that the Texans haven't just trade Brandon Cooks. Why are you not trading Brandon Cooks? Oh, there you go, right there. Brandon Cooks is an older player, multiple, been traded multiple times. It's not.
And he already basically called the team stupid for trading Mark Ingram.
Correct. Why would you not be dumping Brandon Cooks? That doesn't make any sense to me. Even if you get a 3rd round pick for him or a 4th round pick, conditional 3rd, whatever it is, just make a move to try and get him out of there. I think.
By the way, some clarification on Duvernay Tardif. Expiring contract according to Spot Track, hasn't played a snap since 2019. He opted out last year, so there you go. I was asking about his playing time this year. It's been 0. There's Brandon Cooks.
Wow, what foul language on the NFL on the Pick Six podcast.
YouTube, you're allowed to do it.
I think he's talking about Brinson. If you're listening, Brandon Cooks tweeted out just before the trade. Oh no, this is tweeted out last week. This is BS. Such a joke.
Yeah,
that was after the Ingram
we're not
trade.
doing the podcast yet. The podcast doesn't start till 4 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Everybody, if you're watching, hit that like button.
Like.
Smash the like button. Tell us in the comments the player that you want to see traded. The trade deadline in 2 minutes. We will, of course, have a podcast going up after the trade deadline ends. But yeah, we got to wait for the 2 minutes just in case something crazy happens. This happens a lot, man. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a whole lot of action, honestly.
Hey, we saw the fax machine incident with the Broncos a few years ago. We saw the AJ McCarron phone incident where the trade didn't get reported to the NFL league office. So the Browns and Bengals.
Where was AJ McCarron supposed to go?
He was in Cincinnati and he was supposed to go to Cleveland.
Oh, gosh.
You don't remember that?
Yeah,
the Browns were going to trade multiple 2nd round picks.
They screwed up and didn't trade him. Yeah.
And I don't know Hugh Jackson's out there trying to make it happen. And I think the Browns front office was trying to throw a wrench in it. And they're like, we're just going to play out the clock here. We're going to dribble the clock out so that Hugh can't make this trade.
Do you think that Hugh Jackman would be a better football coach than Hugh Jackson?
Yes.
I do too.
By a mile.
Dressed up as Wolverine, even. That would be more impressive.
Yeah. So that trade was in 2017, and the Bengals would have gotten a 2nd and a 3rd round pick. The Browns would have gotten AJ McCarron, and it did not happen because the Browns
and 3rd round.
The Browns, yeah, I use bunny quotes. The Browns forgot to send the paperwork into the NFL.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was Hugh Jackson doing it all. Remember, Hugh Jackson's also the one who orchestrated the Carson Palmer trade at the deadline.
Just hooking up the Bengals.
Yeah, and also there was the Elvis Dumervil thing was incredible. That was an all-timer. The Broncos just forgot to operate the fax machine, and as a result, had to send or just ended up not.
In related news, Dumerville's agent was promptly fired.
Yes, he was indeed. The trade deadline has.
It's 4 o'clock.
Come and gone.
Done.
We officially passed the trade deadline. Hit the like button so we can go live for the podcast in just a minute. We'll give it. What do we give it? 1 minute. Breech, you gonna leave right at 4:30? What's the deal?
4:30.
Hard out at 4:30.
Hard out. I got a baby out.
See, unlike
A baby out.
Oh, look at that! Somebody, Michael Reeves on Twitter said his dogs are intently watching the television show. I'll put this slide for us. You can toss that up, Diva. So really quickly, let's just yeah. Well, hold on.
Oh, that's so funny that somebody's dogs love Brinson.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you can toss that up or not.
Brinson, if dogs could vote, I think you could run for president.
Well, maybe that's a nice little setup, by the way. Maybe the dogs love maybe the dogs love the okay, that's a screwdriver to the left of the to the TV. I was like, hold on, maybe don't show that quite yet. That's cool. Maybe they love Fletcher Cox or love the Eagles. As you can see,
dogs are big Eagles fans. I do know that for a fact.
Are they?
Yeah. I mean, well, they don't like cat teams, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, that's true. So yeah, hit the like button. We will get started in just a second on the podcast. We get to, I don't know what we have to get to. Yeah, and we could certainly see some news coming in after the deadline, but it does seem at this point that we have probably gotten. Here's an interesting theory. Oh yeah, look at that.
There they are. Good job, Tebow.
Yeah.
Dogs.
Yeah,
The dogs are probably going crazy now.
Friend of the podcast.
What's that?
Friend of the podcast.
Absolutely. It is Chris Long and not Lane Johnson, right?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Oh, that's great smelling, Chris Long.
The great smell. Yeah, Chris Long. Good friend of the podcast. Love Chris Long. Chris Long also has a great podcast, Greenlight. Worth checking out if you have room in your feed for other podcasts. That's certainly one that I listen to. I thought this is interesting. Mike Garofalo was talking with Daniel Jeremiah on Twitter, and just DJ pointed out that the trade deadline kind of stinks. And Garofalo said, blame the comp picks, get rid of them, and see how quickly the deadline heats up. That's probably true because teams don't want to trade away. Because if you trade a player in the final year of his deal, for instance, he would, then the team that acquires him gets him added to their compensatory pick formula, and the team that had him before loses him. So it actually, in some ways, it doesn't necessarily benefit a team, even a bad team, to trade a player who might boost their compensatory picks. Because if you get enough of a compensatory pick, you end up getting a late 3rd round pick, a late 4th round pick, or something like that. They all matter at the end, especially now that you can trade those.
Right. And Von Miller is a good example. If just say the Rams had only traded a 3rd round pick for Von Miller, they might end up getting that back if he doesn't re-sign with the team. And so it was a net neutral. They didn't lose any picks, they didn't gain any picks, and they got 9 games out of Von Miller.
Exactly. Okay.
Real quick.
What sort of trade compensation could you get from Brinson? Me. I have a weighted salary. It's sort of like so it's heavy. It hits the salary cap pretty heavily. So, ham sandwich. I don't know.
Let's be clear.
I would trade him to IHOP for free pancakes for 6 months.
A day-old ham sandwich. Wait,
that
what?
That was a lot more than I expected.
I was going to say, Bree, this is the same guy who thought Gardner Minshew was worth a 3rd round pick.
That's true.
So
IHOP for free pancake, all you can eat pancakes for 6 months.
6 months.
That's like
6 hours is more what the 6 should be.
But you are now IHOP's property, so you are working for them. That's part
if
of
I got a $1 voucher for the CBS cafeteria for a month. I think I'm making that deal.
So a $30 voucher, and who are you trading?
No. A 3-cent voucher. Like every day he gets 3 cents.
No, every day you get $1.
Yeah, let's not go too crazy, Ryan.
Yeah,
but actually it's better than $1. That's so disrespectful that you can only spend $1 a day in 2021 at a convenience store. So basically you're getting water and a couple sticks of gum.
I like how you guys weren't even trading me to another podcast or like another media company.
Why would we do that? Like who are we trading? What podcast is going to take you on?
You're trading me to like
I can't wait to hear this.
Well, you're trading me to IHOP or the CBS cafeteria. Like what do I do at this? Do I just live in the cafeteria? What's going on here?
Back in the day when we were allowed to travel and you were allowed to go to the combine, you would ingratiate yourself with the around the NFL guys. Those are your best friends. We barely saw you, so that might be a landing spot. You'd be the backup there though. You're not getting off the bench.
That's fine.
You're probably trying to worm your way into the ringer situation or the athletic. But again, I don't know if you're starter material on those teams.
Jeez. Oh!
Trade him for Pete Prisco.
Oh, boy.
Pete has no trade clause, and even if he didn't, he wouldn't go.
Yeah, that's right. Pete's got too many years left on his deal.
Pete has even more like demands and stipulations in his contract than Benson.
I love
Hey, Debo, let me ask you. I mean, if like you imagine if you had to deal with me, but it was Pete. Like you had to deal with Pete Pete had to do a daily NFL podcast and you had to produce it, and there's no way you're going to get off of it for like the next 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, last year's number I believe was 411 podcasts.
Ugh,
wow. You were probably on 390 of them. I think I was on like 408. If I had to do that with Pete, yeah, I don't think I'd make that swap.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, yes, yes. There it is.
Although we would have like 12-minute podcasts every day.
That's true. All right, enough of that. Let's get down here. All right, let's do our. In all seriousness, let's do our podcast. Right.
Let's do it.
All right, time for the trade deadline. The trade deadline podcast. Now I'm seeing Wilson tweeting out better NFL head coach Hugh Jackman or Hugh Jackson. Anywho, let's do this podcast. Everybody, if you're watching or listening on YouTube, hit the like button. Mash that thing real quick. Try and give away one of these hats. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Big Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. It is Tuesday, November 2nd, and we are recapping yet another thrilling NFL trade deadline. Joining me to break it all down, Ryan Wilson and John Breech. What's up, fellas?
Breech, I'm glad I'm the draft guy, not the trade deadline guy, because I would probably have been fired for lack of activity.
Well, I think we're going to get a lot of listeners, because I think they're going to want us to rank all our favorite trades. What's your top 10, Brinson?
I didn't think this would make my top 10 favorite NFL trade deadline, so I don't know. My favorite, number one, the Dolphins not trading for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Number two, the Eagles not trading Fletcher Cox.
So your favorite trades of the trade deadline was no trades?
Correct. Odell Beckham not being traded from the Browns.
Actually, I would say my number one trade was Stephon Gilmore to the Panthers. Number one, Von Miller to the Rams. Number two, Stephon Gilmore to the Panthers. Number three, Joe Flacco to the Jets, just for the humor's sake. Number four, Dan Brown to the Chiefs and Laurent Duvernay-Tardif to the Jets, just because they traded for a doctor at the trade deadline. Number five, Zach Ertz to the Cardinals. You know, that's actually should be higher if we were doing a realistic one and not a sarcastic one. And number six, did I say Mark Ingram to the Saints, maybe higher than that. Melvin Ingram to the Chiefs, Charles Omenihu to the 49ers, and CJ Henderson to the Panthers, Kenny Young to the Broncos. Does that cover all of them?
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, I mean, if we're looking at the biggest deals, I mean, I think you start. Well, let's grade some of the bigger ones. How about that? We'll start with the ones that didn't happen, because again, I think that is a bigger deal. Deshaun Watson.
I'll just note quickly, we've had 10 trades going back to October 5th, so that's how infrequent this has happened.
Absolutely
down the stretch here. So go ahead about Deshaun.
And only 4 of those happened on the trade deadline day.
The biggest story is that Deshaun Watson did not get traded and will be with the Texans throughout the rest of the year, barring their decision to release him and him signing somewhere else. Also, Brandon Cooks not traded by the Texans. Brady Quinn made an interesting point when we were talking before the show for Wednesday's show, which was not, it didn't actually make the cut, but he said the Texans may have screwed up by not trading Deshaun Watson because it's possible that, his legal situation could get worse over the next several months heading into the offseason. It's possible that Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson are available. It's possible that other quarterbacks are on the market. And so it could sink the value that the Texans could get in return for Deshaun Watson. But it was very clear that at the end of the day, Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, was not willing to make the deal to get Deshaun Watson from the Texans without some sort of he needed certain conditions met, i.e., a settlement of some sort in the Watson case, and couldn't get there.
So it's funny you say that, because JJ Jonathan Jones just posted on the Twitter machine his latest at CBSSports.com about the Deshaun Watson deal, and sort of echoes what Brady's talking about in terms of things possibly getting worse. If Watson's legal issue worsens, JJ writes, so does his value to interested teams. This is going to happen next offseason now at this point. The introduction of Aaron Rodgers and Russ Wilson to the trade market will also hurt his value. And that's something that's considered. Like Russ and Aaron Rodgers weren't going anywhere in early November, and now they're going to be in the mix. There'll be other quarterbacks we haven't even thought of that could potentially be on the trade market. And we said this last January before I think all the allegations came out against Deshaun. That was when Deshaun's value was at its highest, and they sort of set on it. All the Deshaun Watson allegations came out, and things went quiet over the summer, and this was another opportunity to move on from him. It sounds like the price wasn't met from the Texas perspective, and now that you're gambling that the value will go up. But if things get worse, the value won't go up. With the market saturated with big-name players like Aaron Rodgers and Russ Wilson, the value may not go up. So as we sit here, the Texans are still a very dysfunctional organization. I think they had a chance to get some draft picks and perhaps improve their long-term chances for success. But, here we are. Nothing's changed.
Well, the other part of that is that let's not forget the key factor here. Deshaun Watson doesn't want to play for the Houston Texans. So let's say he clears up all his legal issues in January, which would certainly make him more tradable. But now you're Houston, you're saying to yourself, why would we trade him unless we get exactly what you want? And so they're going to keep having this huge asking price. I don't see how this ends well for the Texans, no matter how it plays out, because the flip side of that is that Watson doesn't get his legal situation resolved. So now you're into the offseason where you're in the same situation where teams are going to say, look, we're not going to give you 3 first-round picks because we don't even know if this guy's going to be able to play in 2022. And so I feel like his peak value was right now, because if you're the Dolphins, you're already 1-7. If Watson gets suspended for the rest of the season, that's fine because you're done. Your season's over anyway. You start him next season. But now, if he's still there, which he's going to be, as you guys said, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, if you're a team looking for a quarterback, are you going to go for two of the best active quarterbacks right now, or the guy with the crazy legal situation? You're not even going to talk to him. That's just playing with fire. You're going to call Aaron Rodgers' agent. You're going to call Russell Wilson's agent. So I just think the Texans blew it by not lowering their asking price to get something done.
Chris blew it.
Booyah. The other thing is, we mentioned Deshaun Watson not traded. You can at least make the case that with Watson not traded. And by the way, hit the like button. If you're watching this on YouTube, press the like button. Smash that puppy. We're trying to get that thing cranked up. The Texans didn't trade Brandon Cooks either. I don't get that. Like, Brandon Cooks is a productive wide receiver who can help a contender. You could get a 3rd-round pick for him, right?
Yeah. If you're trading with Breech, I don't know if you get a 3rd-round pick for him.
I mean, conditional 3rd-round pick?
That seems pretty rich. Maybe. Clearly, no one wanted him at that price. I would imagine the Texans would have parted ways with him. I think what's more egregious is that the Texans traded Charles Omenihu, their 3rd-year player, who's on a defense that stinks, and only got a 6th-round pick for him.
Oh, actually, you know what? Brandon Cooks' contract is not ideal, actually.
But so that's the bigger issue for me. That said, I mean, if the contract is amenable, you should be having a fire sale. If you're the Texans, if you're the Lions, if you're the Jets, what do you know?
Cooks' contract's fine. He's got 2 voided years on the back end. Like, I mean, the concern for me is with the Texans is that they don't recognize that they are 1-7 and need as many assets back as possible. Just get something for Cooks. So, I mean,
this is like a company having a going out of business sale, and you walk in and they're still trying to charge full price for everything when everything should be 50% off.
No, they're raising prices. They're not even cutting.
Yeah, they're raising prices, and you just walk out like, what the hell are these people thinking?
It's like you walk into like a Dick's Sporting Goods that's having a going out of sale, and you're like walking, you're like, oh, I like that tent. They're like, oh, actually, that we're not selling that tent. But
that tent is actually double what we were charging yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, get some value in return for these players and just go into full-blown tank mode. I mean, Cooks is not going to save your season. Go look at some younger players. I mean, this is a guy who's 28. He should not be a part of your rebuilding process. You traded Mark Ingram to the Saints. You just don't have a whole lot, and it's not going to get better.
It's funny you mentioned the Saints because Kimberly Martin reports that there were some conversaciones about Odell perhaps going to New Orleans. We talked about in the pre-show, Odell's a possible landing spot there. And I think Breech made the point that if your quarterback is yellable in the eyes of Odell Beckham, it probably doesn't make sense to relocate him to whatever city that may be. So I think Kimberly also writes that there's still optimism in the Browns building that OBJ can be a big part of their second half playoff push. So Breech, I'll ask you to reiterate, how's that possible after the video that whoever produced it on YouTube showing all the times that Odell Beckham was wide open.
It doesn't make sense. I don't know how he's going to walk back in the locker room after his dad threw Baker Mayfield under the bus after LeBron James was out there tweeting. It was like Odell sent out a text that said, all right, guys, just do whatever you can. Get me out of Cleveland. I want all my famous friends. I want you, Dad. Everyone make it clear that I do not want to be with the Cleveland Browns anymore. And that's what they did all day. They sent this, they blitzkrieg social media with these messages that Odell needs to be traded. And that's fine if he ends up getting traded, but he did not get traded. So now he has to walk with his tail tucked between his legs back into that locker room, look Baker Mayfield in the eye and be like, hey, bro, sorry, my dad shared a 10-minute video about you overthrowing me 25 times. I don't know how they're going to get along. You wouldn't have gotten along in New Orleans. You think if you can't get along with Baker Mayfield, you think it's going to work with Trevor Siemian or Taysom Hill throwing passes? No, it's going to be even worse. So I don't know how the Browns are going to handle this. It feels like Odell is just, I'm not going to say he's killing the chemistry in the locker room, but he is certainly not helping it. And, Baker Mayfield's trying to play with a broken shoulder. And, if he's thinking in his head, God, I got to throw it to Odell on this play, that's not going to help a Browns offense that's already struggling. So I just think this is a bad situation for Cleveland.
I am not surprised that he wasn't traded. They don't have a ton of depth at wide receiver. I don't care that he hasn't been productive. He is Odell Beckham. We know he has a skill set. Maybe something can click. Maybe they can make a run at the playoffs. They're 4-4. They're supposed to have a special season. Everybody was sort of hoping for a bounce back from OBJ. It clearly hasn't been there. But again, with all the money that he's owed this season, and there's no dead money on the cap. There's no dead money on the final years of his deal, so they can move on from it. By the way, what a terrible contract that was that they gave him. I'm just not surprised that they decided not to trade him, even though, I get that his dad did all that. Like, his dad's not getting him sent out of town. And then LeBron James is tweeting about it too. Like, the whole thing was crazy. I think, again, the Saints could have made some sense. We don't know what the deal is with Michael Thomas, when he's going to be back. They certainly need help there, but they're not going to take on a ton of his salary. They can't afford to take on a ton of his salary. Speaking of the Saints, what do we think the Saints will do at quarterback? They didn't trade for anybody. There was some thought they might trade for Teddy Bridgewater, given his familiarity. There's also, been some chatter. Who's to say who started the chatter? About, Phillip Rivers. Rivers said he would have some interest in the Saints, but you hear also that the Saints don't really want to, deal with, and Sean Payton said this directly, bringing in an outside quarterback who doesn't know the system. And then 2, are the Saints really going to keep 4 quarterbacks on the on the roster for the entire year?
Who are the 4?
Ian Book, Taysom Hill, and Trevor Siemian.
I forgot about Ian Book. Yeah. I never was buying into the Phillip Rivers thing. Because he's old, number 1. He's been coaching football, number 2. Maybe he's working out and throwing and staying in shape and all that. I think he wouldn't have that much trouble learning any offense because he's pretty smart and he's played for 20 years. But I don't know if he's because don't forget, like his last year in Los Angeles, San Diego, wherever they were at the time, everyone but you had concerns about him, Brinson. Like he didn't look
fine
good
in Indianapolis, Ryan. So
he was better last year for sure. But I don't know. I don't know if he puts that team over the hump. I think you sort of roll with Trevor, you roll with Taysom Hill, and I'm actually sort of interested to see how that plays out. Saints fans may feel less certain about that because they have more vested in it, but I don't know how much more. How many wins does Phillip Rivers give you if he starts in 2 weeks, Breech?
Who are the Saints playing 2 weeks?
If he doesn't start playing until 2 weeks from now because he has to get acclimated, how many more wins at the end of the year does he provide you other than Taysom Hill / Trevor Siemian?
1.
Okay. So, I was going to say 1.5 was the over-under. So that could be the difference between they're making the playoffs. We've already talked about this.
They should make the playoffs, yes.
Well, and Sean Payton did say on Monday he thought it would be a, quote, challenge to bring any quarterback in. So he kind of shot down that they were going to trade for anyone. Obviously, they don't have to trade for Rivers. They can just sign him. I don't hate it. Like, what is just bring him in. Like, and if he learns the playbook quickly, you can play him. Or if you think he's a good fit for your offense, you play him. And if he's not, then you have a veteran on the sideline in case something happens to Taysom Hill, who has missed the last 3 weeks with a concussion, because you don't want your season riding on Trevor Siemian. Like, I think it's got to be Phillip Siemian. You've got to Phillip Rivers.
Where did these words come? I just don't understand.
Well, look, Phillip Rivers said that he
Let me ask you, Brinson, let me ask you this, though. What if the concern is Breech, if he's not the starter because of whatever reason, that he's not fully invested because now he's traveling back and forth? I would imagine probably during, he's probably traveling back to see his kids, or is he staying in New Orleans?
Phillip Rivers is only coming if he's a starter. He's not coming if he's not the starter.
Yeah, but you get 3 weeks into it, and it's like, oh my gosh, he's not the person we thought.
No,
he
but
was.
I'm sure Sean Payton, they can paint a picture that says, look, Philip, you're going to be the backup the first week or two because we need to get you have to get familiar with the offense. He's not going to expect it. Sean Payton could sell him on.
Just to clarify that, I think here's what would happen is, I mean, you can give your playbook to anybody. Like if somebody's
online.
I mean, Sean Payton could send a Saints playbook to Phillip Rivers.
Sean Payton tweets out plays.
No, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like it would be a violation of NFL rules to give Phillip Rivers a free agent and retired. Like, you could give a playbook to Phillip Rivers. Let's say hypothetically the Saints, you reach out to Phillip Rivers, say, listen, Phillip, we are potentially interested. We want to keep this quiet. We want to see how Simeon and Taysom Hill do over the next 2 weeks. We play the Falcons at home. They were at the Titans. Then they're at the Eagles November 21st, and then they have to play the Bills at home on Thanksgiving, which will be on Sunday night. I guess it's Thanksgiving. Yeah. You could potentially say, let us see how you do the next 2 weeks, and then you make a decision on the Rivers thing. Because if Simeon and Taysom Hill play well enough where you beat the Falcons and beat the Titans, you're at 7 wins. And
what is it? I'll look it up. I don't want to ask you. So
you can ask me. I got the schedule in front of me.
No, I was going to ask you the playoff odds from Football Outsiders. What? How many wins are you giving an Aaron Rodgers, a Phillip Rivers led Saints team if he starts 2 weeks from now? Breech is at 1. I think that's about right. One extra win.
I got the playoff odds. Hold on, I'll bring it up. The Saints are currently at
65%, 70%. Yeah. So I get it. Like, I'm with Breech. I'm fine bringing him in. I don't know what the long-term payout is. Like, I don't know if you mentioned that much.
There's no long-term payout. It's a 9-week payout, and you hope that it pays off.
Long-term being weeks 10, 11, and 12. Like, if there's no cost, bring him in. I get it. He's not going to be disruptive. He's not going to be angry if he's not playing. He'll just retire or whatever. Yeah, bring him in. That's fine. I'm not going to push back.
Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, I'm not going to push back.
I think that, look, Phillip Rivers now knows has to think there's potential interest. He said it would probably be 2 to 3 weeks for him to get in good playing shape. You don't have to bring it. He already said he's like, I'm not playing for the. Somebody asked him, would you play on Sunday against the Falcons? He's like, no. It's like he's like, I mean, he said in theory, if on Monday I needed to play the next Sunday, yes, I could do that. But I would rather have like 2 to 3 weeks to get ready, prepare, learn the offense, all that. So I think you're looking at if they decided to do it, it would be for that Eagles game. Excuse me, that Eagles game in 3 weeks, or even the Bills game on Thanksgiving, which I think would be on NBC, which would be hilarious because Drew Brees would be the studio analyst for that game. Moving on. Is there anybody out there who should have made a deal that didn't make a deal that bothers you guys?
I wanted to make a deal after the Saints, so we went to break, but you didn't go for that.
Okay, well let's take a break.
The world's #1 pound-for-pound fighter, Canelo Alvarez. He's planning to make boxing history.
Canelo rocking the head.
But undefeated champ Caleb Plant stands in his way. Ready to shock the world in a battle that's become personal. Only one can be undisputed champion. Canelo Alvarez versus Caleb Plant, Saturday, November 6th, live on pay-per-view.
This notification thing is just a problem for me, but thank you, Wilson. What did you trade for me going to break? What were you willing to trade? Breech's presents for our draft grades?
What presents does Breech have?
Breech leave us in like 6 minutes. He claims he's got a kid thing to do. I mean, like I
thought you meant like gifts, presents. I was like, wait, what did he get us? Nothing.
No.
His departure is the gift.
I tell you what, let's just start grading deals that should have happened, or grading deals that actually did happen.
Yeah.
Not talk about ones that should have happened. Melvin Ingram traded to the Chiefs from the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 2022 6th-round grade. What grade do you give the Chiefs? What grade do you give the Steelers, Breech?
I give the Chiefs a B+. They had to do something to revamp the defense. They only gave up a 6th-round pick. Melvin Ingram knows the AFC West. He played in it for 10 years, 9-10 years with the Chargers. And so he's back in a familiar area. And he wasn't great with the Steelers, obviously.
No, he was. I was going to ask you why B+. Go ahead.
And by the way, actually, Breech, you do Chiefs, and Wilson, you can do Steelers.
But if he can be a step up on from anything the Chiefs have right now, which is completely possible because their defense has been so bad, then it's a good move for them. And they had to do something, and this is what they did, and I'm okay with it. And they only gave up a 6th-round pick to make it happen.
I'm giving Breech an F for the B+ that he gave the Chiefs because I'm giving the Chiefs an A+, even though. So look,
A+.
Melvin Ingram actually has played pretty well. Breech may be talking about the fact that the Steelers like to drop Melvin Ingram in coverage when they let him play as a part-time player, and that's not his game. He wasn't terrible at it, but he got after it in terms of rushing the quarterback, and it was just a situational pass. He was a situational player because of Alex Highsmith and obviously T.J. Watt, and that's too bad that the two sides didn't understand that at the onset of their time together. So I think it's great for the Chiefs because that defense stinks. Anyone would actually be an upgrade. But B+ isn't bad. I'm just giving Breech a hard time. The Steelers, I give them a B, maybe even a B- because they didn't work things out with Ingram. They sort of need him in terms of a rotational player, unless everyone can stay healthy and play 60 snaps a game. The 6th-round pick is okay. You would like to get more for it, but you're not getting more for a veteran player on a show me deal when he wasn't playing a whole lot of football.
I believe $2.9 million of his $4 million contract was a signing bonus. So
money well spent for 6 games of part-time duty.
Yeah, they got and he had gotten up to 100% of the snaps against Cincinnati, and then it just cratered off the face of the planet. He had 49, 60, and 26 in terms of the snaps. Wasn't playing a whole lot, and that's why he was ready to be done. Before we move on to the grades, I want to note that Von Miller passed his physical with the Rams. He had hurt his ankle with the Broncos in week 7, but he passed his physical, meaning he is all good. That trade is completed. Von Miller is going to the Rams. And 2, a surprise last-second trade. The Broncos sent rookie cornerback Kerry Vincent Jr. to the Eagles for a 2022 6th-round pick, according to Tom Pelissero of NFL Media. That one snuck through the 4 p.m. buzzer. Debo, on a scale of 1 to 2, how excited are you?
1.5. Ryan, tell me about him. You scouted him last year.
Yeah, athletic player. I think I had like an early day 3 grade on him. Played on those really good defenses at LSU. I can't remember if he may have opted out last year. I'd have to go back and check. 6th-round pick in terms of compensation tells me that the Eagles probably liked him last year. Just didn't have an opportunity.
He did opt out.
Okay, so that's the other thing. He doesn't have a lot of experience now. If he didn't play last year, so he played on the national championship winning LSU team with all those other players in that defense that were drafted. So there's some projection trying to figure out what kind of player he was, and maybe who traded him?
The Broncos traded him.
Oh, the Broncos. So maybe the Broncos they're keeping Kyle Fuller, who was often mentioned as a possible trade target. They had Patrick Surtain, and maybe there wasn't a place for him there, or maybe they didn't love what they saw after they got him in camp, but. If the Eagles liked him, it sounds like they did. Why not take a flyer on him? And Debo, you know better than I do. They could use certainly help on defense and in the secondary.
Yeah, and he probably would have been the 3rd best corner anyways on that LSU team last year with Stingley and Ricks there. Right?
Yeah, there you go. By the way, if you haven't seen Ed Ogeron's comments about his team in preparation for Alabama, please go check them out. They are absolutely hysterical.
Oh, okay. I will go check this out.
He was asked in the press conference quickly. They said, what do you think? How's the team playing? Are there concerns? And he thought they were talking about Alabama. And he goes, well, they're really good. They go, no, your team. And he basically said, we are terrible. We are a big pile of dog doo-doo. And that's a guy who knows he's out of a job in a few weeks. But anyway, check those out if you're looking for something.
He's on vacation. We mentioned Von Miller passed his physical. How about a grade, Breech, for the Rams?
I'm going to give the Rams an A. Because
Von Miller, by the way, was traded for a 2022 2nd and a 2022 3rd-round pick.
Look, the Rams have shown that their strategy is pretty clear when it comes to trading picks, and it's that they don't care about the draft. They would rather have a proven commodity than these lottery draft picks that you don't know if they're going to pan out. So they just give them away. They get a proven player back. Number one, they don't really have to pay Von Miller because the Broncos are footing $9 million of his salary. So that takes that off the table. Number 2, no 1st-round picks involved, 1 2nd-round pick, and you have another 3rd-round pick you got because of a compensatory pick. So you're still okay there. And Von Miller with Aaron Donald. Are you kidding me? The Rams defense, they're all in for the Super Bowl. I love this move. I give it an A. Should I give it an A+? I'll give it an A.
Okay.
I want Ryan to give me an F so he can get an A+.
What would you give the Broncos for this?
I give them an A as well. I mean, they got a 2nd and a 3rd-round pick. I think I'm fine with Breech's grade because the Rams has made it clear they don't care about draft picks. And that roster is pretty stacked. And if they're trying to win now, and Breech sort of noted about this, if you don't want to take a flyer on a second or third rounder next year, you want to give the scouting department the year off, trade those picks away, get a proven player, and go get them. And I think the Broncos are obviously a team, although they're still sort of quote unquote in the mix in that division. They're a team that needs a quarterback, and maybe these are picks you can use not to trade up to get one, but to trade one, whether it's Russ or Aaron. Or maybe they get back in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes till we get to that point in the springtime. Yeah, I think it's a great trade. It's one of these trades that feels balanced for both sides. If you were just looking at it and the team that acquired Von Miller weren't the Rams, you would say that the Broncos maybe won because of what was given up. But knowing that it's the Rams and where they are and how they sort of view these things, I think it's a pretty even trade. So I'll give the Broncos an A.
Yeah, I saw some people, or I can't remember, somebody from PFF was bashing the trade. It's like, look at these teams, and like listed like 7 teams that traded day 2 picks for a high-end defensive player. And it was like all teams, most of them were teams that went to the Super Bowl but just lost in the Super Bowl, which I don't know. I mean, I think the Rams would probably sign to be in the Super Bowl right now. Not that they would sign to lose the Super Bowl. I'm saying they would sign if they get Von Miller and if trading a second and a third guarantees you a chance to play in the Super Bowl, I think the Rams feel like that is an absolute victory for them in this deal.
It feels like when everyone was crushing, and I had questions too, when the Falcons traded to get Julio Jones and gave up so much. Hey, man, they got to the Super Bowl. They should have won it. And if they had won it, no one would have cared. They didn't, but that it is what it is.
Yeah, no doubt. And for I think the Broncos deserve a ton of credit for this because you don't often see a NFL team that's 4-4 be willing to trade away a franchise, like a Ring of Honor franchise legend, a guy they drafted with they drafted him 3rd overall, right? When it was because it was Cam, Darius, and then Vaughn. They drafted him. He's played for he's probably a Hall of Famer. I know Wilson.
Actually, I wasn't even going to push back on that one.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say he's probably.
And Brinson, he was the 2nd overall pick.
Oh yeah, so Darius was 3rd. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. At any rate, yeah, I don't know, it's been 10 years. At any rate, Von Miller, a likely /probable Hall of Famer, I think, just because of he's Super Bowl MVP, won a Super Bowl. That defense has been dominant. He's put up monster numbers for over a decade. And so, I mean, this is a guy that if you're the Broncos, there was a lot of emotion between both sides letting him go, but you're 4-4, you still had a shot at the playoffs. Good for them for recognizing their position and saying, you know what? We do need to go out and get some draft picks. We want to try and improve at the quarterback position next offseason. So they do that. Speaking of the Rams, by the way, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reports that the Rams are expected to release Deshaun Jackson. Both parties explored trade possibilities. He would have stayed, but this gives him a chance to get more playing time. He will be subject to waivers, which is hard to believe since Deshaun Jackson's been around so long that he'd be subject to waivers. But I would think there'll be some interest in Deshaun Jackson. He was open deep for the Rams several times. I'm really shocked they didn't find a way to use him more. Matthew Stafford missed him a couple times.
They have a ton of playmakers. That's why. And as Breech noted in the pre-show, if you're 34 years old and you can't be happy in a team that's, as you just talked about, has a really good chance to go to the Super Bowl or at least make a deep playoff run, I don't know what would make you happy. It's not like you're on the end of your rookie deal and you're trying to get paid. You're on a team that wins football games. And for some people, that maybe isn't the most important thing. Maybe Deshaun Jackson, that is important to him, and we're just not seeing it. But he's unhappy, and looks like soon to be released.
Yeah, what team is going to want to sign him? If he can't make it work on a team that's throwing the ball all the time, where's he going to go and get more playing time and get more targets and get more receptions? It just doesn't make sense to me that he wants to leave. Like, hey, you've never won a Super Bowl in your life. Stick around for the rest of the season. Maybe get a Super Bowl ring. Figure things out next year. You're not going to. I just don't see him finding a spot. A better spot than the Rams where he's going to make a huge contribution.
Yeah.
Ryan, I'm Jackson Hall of Famer.
Ooh.
No.
I don't think so. No,
no, he's not.
Just wanted to check.
If Brinson and Breech are on board with that, it's a hard no.
Yeah. I mean, he's played 27, 5, 32, 32, 30, 24, and 6% of the snaps through 7 weeks. I guess he didn't play last week. Or maybe he's inactive because they were potentially trying to trade him. I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot of, what does he have? 15 targets and 8 catches. Is that right? He has 221 receiving yards this year?
We had like 75 of them on one
game.
catch.
Right, yeah. He was like
mean,
the Deshaun of old.
I guess the thing that's odd to me is that this is sort of what I assumed they brought Deshaun Jackson in for.
By the
Like,
way,
if I was
Jordan,
Deshaun Jackson, I would have assumed that the Rams brought me in to be this occasional deep threat who, and maybe it's a situation where Sean McVay's like, look, man, I got Robert Woods is complaining about, like too many mouths to feed. So you get the guy.
well, I'll tell you exactly. According to Jordan Rodriguez, who covers the Rams for The Athletic now,
Yeah.
she notes that that's her impression that, quote, more playing time in general was not necessarily the issue with Deshaun. Specifically, more targets on offense with more playing time on offense seemed to be the source of the frustration. So there you go.
I mean, if maybe Deshaun don't want to be out there running a bunch of deep routes and it's just Matthew Stafford just hitting Cooper Kupp over and over again.
Right. Only so many sprints left in those 34-year-old legs.
Sure.
Put him in Indy.
He wouldn't last 2 weeks with Carson Wentz.
No, he would not.
It'd be like drawing DPI, Deshaun, on underthrown deep balls.
So that doesn't count as a target, right? They take that off. It doesn't
It would
count.
be no play, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's a no stat there.
Okay. Charles Omenihu to the 49ers for a future late round pick. Breech left.
He announced it on Slack. You don't patrol that, so I'll let you know.
I'm just not getting the notifications.
That's why me and Debo are here.
I've restarted. It's a problem.
You're like a grandpa trying to drive the car, and we got to tell you where to go in the passenger seat.
I turned off Do Not Disturb. I don't know what's going on with my computer. If anybody listening to the podcast or in the YouTube channel, by the way, hit the like button in YouTube, youtube.com/pick6. We were live leading up to the trade deadline. Smash that like button. Tell us your favorite deal of the trade deadline, or point out, let me know how I can fix my notifications that I'm not getting on my stupid brand new laptop. Texans grade, 49ers grade for Charles Omenihu.
I love Charles Omenihu. I like him coming out of Texas. No, I like him. I mean, here's the thing: you're comparing this trade in the division to the Rams getting Von Miller, and it's not even. Well, I don't want to say it's not even close. It's a bigger splash if you're the Rams getting Von Miller, but Charles Omenihu is a good young player. I think it was silly that the Texans got rid of him for only a 6th-round pick, but whatever. We don't know what the Texans are doing. I like the move for San Francisco. I'm hard on them about not playing to their potential, but this is a move in the right direction. So I'll give it a B+ for San Fran and like a C-, maybe even a D for Houston, because I would have tried to get more or keep him as a young player who you can build around.
Yeah, trade your old veterans and keep your younger players. If somebody's under the age of 25, why are you talking about trading?
I don't know. It's crazy town, man.
Okay, so other deals that had happened previously that we would have talked about that we mentioned earlier, just Mark Ingram to the Saints, Joe Flacco to the Jets, Stephon Gilmore, C.J. Henderson, both traded the what?
Joe Flacco. I love that he just won't go away. It's
an amazing trade. It's just like
he's going to play longer than Tom Brady.
And the funny part is we saw and then, like, I had a Jets buddy in the chat who was like, "Oh, Flacco's not going to be ready. This is trouble for this week." And it's like, if that's your problem, then you got bigger problems. Ends up Mike White led the league in passing yards last.
It is sort of funny that Joe Douglas tried to CYA cover his behind by trading for Joe Flacco because they didn't have a veteran presence, and then Mike White just balls out, so it almost blows up in his face.
Yeah, like, Joe Douglas starting to
raise some questions.
Yeah, raise some questions. Get on the radar. Also worth mentioning that Henry Ruggs is going to be charged with DUI. I believe the actual phrase is DUI that caused I'll find the actual phrase, but I think it's DUI that caused his death. He was in a 2-car accident at 3:30 in the morning in Las Vegas. The other motorist in the car tragically died. Henry Ruggs suffered some non-life-threatening injuries, and the Raiders and the NFL have released the statements that you would think that they would release here, which is they are in the fact-finding process currently. The actual full statement from the Las Vegas Metro Police Department. On November 2nd at approximately 3:39 a.m., the LVMPD responded to a traffic collision near the intersection of South Rainbow Boulevard and South Spring Valley Parkway involving a Chevrolet Corvette and a Toyota RAV4. Responding officers located the Toyota on fire. Fire department personnel responded and located a deceased victim inside the Toyota. The preliminary investigation indicates the front of the Chevrolet collided with the rear of the Toyota. The driver of the Chevrolet, identified as 22-year-old Henry Ruggs III, remained on scene and showed signs of impairment. He was transported to UMC Hospital to be treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Ruggs will be charged with DUI resulting in death. A quick glance at some Nevada legal analysis shows that if he is convicted, it could be punishable by oddly small fine, but 2 to 20 years in prison. I believe last year, I was doing some research on this, Nevada just changed the laws. You used to be able to be charged for second-degree murder. So they changed it last year, and so now it is a maximum of 20 years in prison for this. So certainly, thoughts and prayers to the family and friends and family of the person involved in the other car. I mean, it's a horrible tragedy, and we don't know how this plays out. We have seen this in rare occasions before in the NFL. Leonard Little, Dante Stallworth, were both involved in similar accidents. But I would anticipate that I would guess that this probably ends his season. Would be my guess, and the legal ramifications will extend far, far beyond that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know how this proceeds because I don't remember this. You mentioned like the previous times it's happened, and I don't know. And we're in a different time too in terms of how the league responds and how willing or unwilling they are to let players play in the light of serious things happening to them off the field. So we'll see. But yeah, like you said, it's terrible. It's just absolutely, it's hard to wrap your brain around. And it sucks.
Yeah, very, very tragic. Okay. Anything else, not to move on, but anything else from the trade deadline that we need to cover before we get out of here?
No. I mean, I think someone mentioned in the pre-chat, it may have been our buddy Lucas, if they move the trade deadline back, maybe there's more action happening, but
yeah,
it is what it is. Not a lot's happened. You mentioned the compensatory picks as possibly being the culprit, but you have to deal with what it is. And it's been as unexciting a time as I can remember on something that's supposed to be sort of fun.
There's a lot of hype surrounding the NFL trade deadline, and almost nothing ends up going down. By the way, the Packers also released Jalen Smith, who they just recently signed, and the Washington football team expects Logan Thomas to return to practice after the bye to make room for Logan Thomas to come back. They released Jay Sternberger, the former third-round pick of the Green Bay Packers, who they had picked up.
Yeah, he just never worked out in Green Bay.
Yeah, did not work out. So that's it, I believe, for the show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. For Breech, for Wilson, I'm Brinson. We will talk to you guys later.